Hello friends. So this is going to be a small video relatively, but then we are going to cover again some important concepts related to IDOC, and I would say this is going to be my final video. Um, I have discussed couple of things, few things might be pending, but then based on the concepts you understood during last 2-3 videos, you can go ahead and explore on your own. So before I proceed, I would like to tell you that I have uploaded the previous IDOC video once again because there were some sound quality issues. So this one I have made it as private and then re-uploaded the same video. And let's see, I think this should do better. So it will be available in next few minutes. So that's okay. And then, uh, okay, I'll go to my system. Okay. Now, by now, you guys know that how we can do an ALE setup. So we can create an ALE path and move the IDOCs. We can process the IDOC in foreground and background, which means immediate processing and background processing by BD20. You know what is WE09, which is basically finding out an IDOC by the segment values. You know BD20, which means again processing the IDOCs in background, port partner profile. Now, uh, okay, so sometime what happens, you might feel a need of deleting an IDOC. So So let me tell you that IDOCs cannot be deleted. Instead, what we can do, we can change the status of the IDOC. So there is a program rc1 underscore IDOC underscore set underscore status. You execute this program, give the IDOC number here. Let's say I'm giving 6 message type orders. So from 51 status, basically the status is 53. I'm making it 68. So if I go to my IDOC list, let me open it. So this is the IDOC. As of now, it's in status 53. Oh, it's an outbound one. Sorry, 1 second. So we have couple of IDOCs here. Uh, let's say this IDOC message type orders. So as of now, it's in status 51. And then I'm going to this program, give the IDOC number status 51 to, I'm just changing it to 68. So IDOCs are converted. You will get this message, which means the work is done. Now if I go and open this IDOC in W02, okay, my mistake. So here we have the option of test. So when I do a test, it means it will just tell that yes, it can be converted, but then it's not, it won't do the commit work. If I uncheck this and execute, then IDOCs were converted. So now I can go to the transaction again and check the status of the IDOC. So now the status is 68. So we change the status manually. Earlier it was 51. So no further processing. It went into error. So we have stopped this IDOC here itself. It's kind of deleted. It won't be processed further. So this is how you can change the status of an IDOC. Now, as I told you earlier that IDOC is nothing but again basically it's the concept of internal table and work area. The data is already stored in form of segment. You need to extract the data from the segment, put it in an internal table, do your processing, and then pass it to the concerned BAP or function model. So what we are going to do, we are going to take an IDOC of orders again. Okay, so we have these IDOCs here. So let me take this one, 49. So whenever you get an IDOC and that goes into error, so there are multiple ways of, or if you want to see and debug the processing of an IDOC, then there are multiple ways. First thing is WE19, as I explained earlier. Go there, IDOC test tool, give the IDOC number, change the data content by clicking here, and then you'll get it in front of you. Just change the contents, change the partner profile, port, and everything. Click on standard inbound, and then drag and drop your debugger on this one and debug this pop-up. But we have some issues in port and partner profile, so we cannot go this way. The other option is if the IDOC is in 64 status, that is ready to be transferred, you come to BD20, keep the IDOC number, something like this, and execute this, put a /h and debug. That is the other option for IDOCs to be processed in background. For IDOCs to be processed in foreground, you can go to WE19. Or if you have access, you can go to partner profile, select your message, and then change the processing to be background, and then come to BD20, give the IDOC name, and debug it. So what happens in that case, IDOC will be generated in your system, but it won't be processed, and you can debug it via BD20. That is other option. So third thing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to utilize the program which I just explained, set status, and then currently this IDOC is in successful mode. '53 status. So from 53, I'm going to make it 64. To give the IDOC number, so this way what happens, it will change the status of the IDOC to 64. So IDOCs were converted. I'll come here. So 64 means it's ready to be transferred. Ready to be transferred. So I can take this option, and then I can go to BD20, give this IDOC name, and then debug this. So come to BD20, give the IDOC number, sorry, put a /h, execute this, So what steps I'm going to explain now are very, very important. You have to keep in mind that how the program flows. Please note that this backend coding is same for BD87, BD20, and WE19, or any other kind of IDOC processing. The backend code remains same. Every time you'll keep on seeing the same code. So if you get this process in right now, then you won't face any issues in the future while debugging an IDOC. So it's very simple whenever you go here. Okay, so let me show you one more thing. Now what you can do, if I give this IDOC here, if I click on standard inbound, I'll get this function module, IDOC input orders. So basically I know that for inbound processing, SAP is going to use this function module. It's going to capture all the data from this IDOC containers, and then it's going to pass to IDOC input orders. But let's see it live. So one way what you can do, you can put a breakpoint inside the function module IDOC input orders, hit execute, it will go and stop there. But then I want to show you the complete flow. So breakpoint at function module. The very first function module which system calls is IDOC underscore input. So just please make a note of it. Very first thing, IDOC underscore input. Put a breakpoint there. Hit F8. So you are inside IDOC underscore input now. You can see this. Okay, and then once you are inside IDOC underscore input, scroll down and come to a place you can see perform IDOC process. Put a breakpoint there. Hit F8. It will come here. Press F5. So IDOC underscore input function module, inside that you went to IDOC underscore process. Now put a breakpoint to perform IDOC pass to application. This is the third step. This is how I do in real time. Again press F5. You'll come inside IDOC and IDOC pass to application, scroll down. So keep on scrolling down and you'll come to a place where you'll see this statement, if pi underscore input underscore method equal to blank. So input method is blank for us. It will be blank most of the time when you are doing a WE19 or BD20 or BD87. So this is going to be the same process for all the transactions, or even the backend, same process is followed by the system also. So this is the same code. So hit F8 again. So now you can see we have this dynamic function module name. If I double click here, so basically system picks it from the repository. So system picks it from the repository. You can see that this is IDOC input orders, which I just showed you in that pop-up in WE19. But then where from it gets picked? So basically these things are assigned in the transaction WE57. Let me search it again. Okay, so here it is assigned IDOC input orders against basic type orders 01 message type orders. So there was some problem in basically the search function. So you click on position, give the function module name directly, it will take you there. So this is the place, this is the repository where the mapping between the function module which will process your inbound IDOC and the basic type and message type business object, everything is assigned. So now you know W57, I'll go to debugging. So from W57 repository, system picks the function module. So we are right now, it will take me inside IDOC input orders. So if you put a breakpoint inside IDOC input orders and hit an F8, system will take you directly there. Where from you'll get the function module? From W57 or W19 pop-up, which I just showed. I'm going inside this function module. Now you can see this call customer function. So why I'm okay. So this is my IDOC underscore control. It will have some data inside this. So now you can see why I explained the concept of customer exit and user exit before IDOC. So this is the place. So whenever the IDOC flow happens, IDOC processing happens, data is extracted from the internal table, system will provide customer exits or function exits in between so that you can tweak the data. You can see call customer function. So basically you can take the IDOC number and then take it inside. You can do whatever you want. So this is basically for inbound IDOCs. You can do this tweaking. You can implement a customer exit, take the details from here, implement it, write your code and tweak the data. Now, so system is doing the validation for segments. And then you can see if I come to this statement, do F7 here. So you can see that there is a perform call VA01 new orders. I can go inside this perform. So it's basically kind of taking a deep dive. You can come inside this function module and you can see how the things are being processed here. So you can see everything is processed, data will be arranged, and then I can come to this statement. So by default, the input method would be no screens. If you remember the BDC concepts here, I'm making it all screen. So if you remember, I explained during my BDC session that most of the BAPIs or function module internally will be using the BDC concept. So you can see that system is going to do a call transaction for VA01. So if I do F6 here, so you will come to the BDC mode. Hit enter. But again, this is specific to the order side of, but the concept remains same. How you debug an IDOC underscore input function module, then a couple of statements which I explained, and then eventually you'll get the runtime function module, which will be picked from W57. You can go inside and debug it. So There might be a BDC, you might need to do more deep dive and find out the BDC, or there might be a direct update statement. You never know. But then this is how you debug, and then if there is an issue, you can go into debugging and then find it out. But now this is a proper BDC running. This is why, because it would have been designed long back. Since it's working perfectly fine, nobody would like to change it. So we have to be patient. It's doing everything. But if you are patient enough, then only you can identify the issues if there are any. So there are pricing issues in this one. So the document might not be created successfully. We can't do anything. Real time, it's not going to happen. Someone will be there to help you. So this is the problem. So this way, because there was an issue, so it came here, and we'll be getting the messages into this one. So you can just get the messages and then you can analyze it, just like you analyze a BDC. Again, this is specific to IDOC input orders. It will vary for different function modules. And then you can do F8. So IDOC was not posted, it went into error. Earlier it was into 64. Now it went into error, that is 51. So you can again, if you want, you can process it via BD87 as I explained earlier. Put a slash h, select that IDOC, put a slash h, hit on process. Again the same cycle will follow. So we are not going to run through the complete cycle. Go to breakpoint, breakpoint at function module, IDOC underscore input. This time you can, if you want, you can put the function breakpoint in IDOC input orders directly. If you hit F8, you'll come inside IDOC input. This one, if you hit F8 again, it should take you to your function module. So you can see that we have the input table here, IDOC underscore data. If I go inside this internal table, so we have control, data, status, everything. If I go inside the data, which is the important one, you will see how the data is distributed in the internal table in the form of segment number and document number. So if you want to rearrange this data in your own format, what you need to do? You need to put a loop on this internal table, take the data into work area and do a case statement. So case segment name. If segment name is this, then you need to read this data based on the offset, which means 0 to 4, 4, 3, like that. So you guys must be knowing the offset concept. This is how you rearrange the data into an internal table format. And now you also know that how to use the exits, customer exits provided by SAP, and then how to tweak your data. So as I explained earlier, you can see that they are putting a loop on IDOC data. So this is how they rearrange it. They will put a case statement based on the segment name. So based on the segment name, what they will do? They will move the data from. So you can see that now we have the data in this field, IDOC data as data. So this is basically nothing but this one. So they will move into a field which is even EDK01. So basically it's a variable of string type. You can move it to a string. System is little slow, please bear with me. So you did nothing but you just passed the work area to a variable, and then from this variable, if I go inside this perform, so you can see that now if I, so what you can do now, whatever fields are a part of this particular line, you can just do a hyphen field name. For example, so automatically the data will be populated. See, so I'm clicking on the field name. So right now it's blank because there are no values. Now you should ask a question that where from we'll get these fields, the segment and field. So what you need to do, you need to go back to your IDOC. So you should go to your IDOC. You should yeah. So go to your IDOC, then just expand the segments. So go to data record. You'll get the segment there like this, and in the segments there will be fields. So this is how you need to do a segment hyphen field and get the value. For example, segment hyphen BELNR. So you'll get the value here. So this is how you read the segment. So you put a loop, copy the data of work area into one string, then string hyphen field name, you'll get it. So this is how you read the data from an IDOC data structure, which is EDIDD structure. Based on the segment name, you read it. Now, so that's all I wanted to explain in this video, how to debug an IDOC, what is the IDOC processing flow, which is going to be unique for all inbound IDOCs, and how you are going to analyze the errors, how to identify the corresponding function modules, the repository and all. So one second, let me see what else I should explain. Okay, so whenever there is a IDOC which gets posted successfully, it's very difficult to find out a good example. Let me put it on hold. Okay, so this one, you can see that this particular IDOC 808-80186, it gives a message that standard order, this has saved successfully, which means this IDOC was processed successfully. So if I go to VA03 and go to display mode, one second. Okay, so I want to check the relationship between the IDOC number and the document number. So go to system, User profile, own data. So one second. Okay, so system user profile and own data. Once you do, you'll come to the screen, go to the parameters tab, give this input STSW active, ST underscore SWU underscore active, and give the parameter value as X, and then hit on save button. So once you are done, once you give the value of X and then save it, and if you come to VA03 again and give the document number which you got from that IDOC status and go, so you'll get this button enabled, services for object, click here. It will take some time, let it take its time. And then you can click on relationship. So right now it's not enabled, maybe relationship was not captured properly. Then you can click on relationship basically, and then you'll get the details of which IDOC actually generated this document. So a lot of things not working in IDOC system, so sorry about that, we can't do much here. So that's about it. And one second. So there is a very good website, saptechnical.com. I think most of you are aware of it. And in this one, there is an example for step-by-step guide to alien IDOC. So in this one, if you go through this example, what they have done, they have created a custom message type, custom segment, custom IDOC type, everything. And then they are transferring the data between two systems. So what you can do, if you are having two different systems, you can try to go through this example. In this one, they have also used WE31, WE32, the transactions to create custom segments and all. So I have already explained, you can just go, if you want to create a custom segment or you want to extend your standard IDOC type, you can use this process. There is another important T code which you should be aware, especially from interview perspective, BD53. So this is for, so everybody talks about extension. This one is for reduction. So here what you can do, go to BD53 and then you can give your message type and then you can reduce any particular segment. Yeah, so you can reduce an IDOC via BD53. So extension reduction and all you can explore from theory point of view. The other important concept was change pointer. So what happens the moment you change some data, it will generate an IDOC and it will go and update the same in the other system. One second. So this is the T code BD50. What you can do, you can create an entry, you can give the message type, for example, order 01, and then you can activate the change pointer, and then you can go to BD51. And then you can probably not this one. Okay, so what you can do, you can give the table name and field name here in BD52 on which the change pointer would be activated, and then the moment you make any change in that field, it will trigger an IDOC which will again be an outbound IDOC and reach to the other system. So that is the concept of change pointer. So I think we are good with IDOC now. I don't have anything else to explain here. The main thing which I wanted to explain was the concept, how the IDOC travels and how the yearly customization is done, even though it's not the part of a web consultant's job, but still you should be aware. So that's all about IDOC. I think next session should be on either module pool programming or scripts and smart forms, because we are done with these topics. I'll see if I can run the Adobe forms on my system. So once we are done with those topics, we'll move to object oriented, because once we are good with object oriented, then we can understand the concept of BADI, and then we can also understand the concept of workflows. So that would be my agenda going forward, and then thanks for your time guys, and we'll catch up again.